In this video, I'm giving you 5 useful sheriff tips and tricks. Use these tips to guarantee success when you decide to pick up the sheriff. My name is Buster, and on this channel I make educational Valorant content for you to improve at the game. If you're interested in that and want to see more, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss out on new videos. The sheriff is one of the best guns in the game, no doubt, but you need to be able to know how to use it properly. And as always, I got you with some things you need to know when starting to pick up the sheriff. The first tip is for you to go for headshots. This might sound like obvious advice, but there are so many people who just spam with the sheriff instead of taking their time to actually shoot at the head. It's gonna be hard at first to consistently hit headshots. Even me as an immortal doesn't consistently hit headshots, but the more you practice, the better you get. And the sheriff is one of those guns that requires a lot of practice to get good with. But it's definitely worth practicing, as the sheriff is arguably the best gun on ecos and force fire rounds if you know how to use it properly. My second piece of advice is to practice your crosshair placement. You're definitely gonna need to be able to flick well if you want to see success with the sheriff, but the most important part is your crosshair placement. Flicks are risky and you don't want to have to rely on hitting them all, but instead having good crosshair placement at head height and knowing where to look is invaluable. This allows you to be ready for an enemy wherever they are and not having to hit those crazy shots all the time. You practice this by just reminding yourself to look at head height and pre-aim the common spots enemies are usually in. There's no easy way to learn this, but rather it comes with experience, and the sooner you learn to be aware of where your crosshair is positioned, the better. My third tip is for you to play sheriff only in deathmatch. You probably already utilize in deathmatch, and even though it's not the perfect system to improve your aim, it's definitely really useful for the sheriff. Playing sheriff only deathmatch will not only allow your aim to improve, but also build a habit of you shooting at the head. You should combine this with my 2 previous tips by having your crosshair placement correct and taking the time to shoot at the head. Doing this in deathmatch allows you to do it freely without taking any risks like you would if you tried this in a regular ranked game. Warming up with this is something I suggest. I have a video on my warm up and aim routine linked on the card above. I recommend doing a couple death matches before you play, and one with sheriff only will definitely help your sheriff skills improve much quicker. The fourth tip is counter strafe. Counter strafing is something I also covered in my aim training video, but it's basically where you hold in a button, let's say A for example, to go left, and when you wanna stop, instead of just releasing A and waiting for your character to stop, you press D to counter your current movement and therefore stop faster. This isn't only useful with the sheriff, but because it one taps, you wanna be able to utilize your first shot accuracy the best you can, and knowing how to counter strafe properly is a key factor to hitting those one taps. Tip number 5 is jiggle peek. Jiggle peeking is in my opinion the most useful peek to know and master in Valorant, as it allows you to get an easy advantage in a lot of fights. Jiggle peeking is when you quickly peek and go back, usually with A and D. This tactic is really useful when using the sheriff because it easily allows you to get a shot off without having to fully commit to the fight. I like to use this when I'm unsure if an angle is being held or not. For example on C Long Haven. Jiggling quickly to see if someone is sitting at the box holding can be a really good idea, instead of simply wide peeking as it's called when you run out fully. Why this is good is if it's for example multiple enemies there and I wide, then I'm fully committed to the fight and I can't go back, so if I get tagged or if I see multiple players, there's no way I can survive that. While when I jiggle peek, I can just jiggle quickly to see the information, possibly get a kill, but also fall back to cover if I need to. Why I love jiggle peeking with the sheriff is also because you'll be using the sheriff mostly on eco rounds and force buy rounds versus players who are equipped with bigger guns and rifles. So when they see you jiggling, a lot of players are gonna start spraying, which allows you to go back and re-peek when they're inaccurate because they just stop spraying and can't hit you as easily. Like with crosshair placement, this is something you'll get better at over time, and there's no real shortcut to this, but simply using it in your games will allow you to get used to it and improve at it. Collect the players on screen right now to learn how to get better at Valorant. That's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching, see you next time.